Bonjour everyone, I am Anne-Lise Cailliez and welcome to Parlez-Vous CEO, where we ditch the corporate talk and get real about entrepreneurship. Each week, I chat with founders and CEOs who build businesses their way, through the failures, pivots, and breakthroughs. And they bring the fire. Plus, I'll drop some golden nuggets of wisdom from my own entrepreneurial journey. This is your space to grow, learn, and evolve with a true growth mindset. Remember, success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Now let's kick things off and get this party started. Hello, bonjour, bonjour, hello. Welcome to another episode of Parlez-Vous CEO. My name is Anne-Lise Cailliez and I am your host. And I'm here today with Spencer Cassell. Spencer, in your own words, could you share with our listeners a bit about your story and background?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on today. I grew up really taking to the classroom, but also the athletic pitch or the athletic field. It was a great way for me to balance my mind, but then also pursue my curiosities that started in the classroom, but then evolved into the investment world. I can recollect sitting at the kitchen table, reviewing different stock options to invest in with my father, just common stock, but anything from Apple to Microsoft, as he had worked in equity sales. And as I moved through into college, I got interested in investment banking and private equity, and now today focus on real assets after studying at Harvard and Rice in Houston, where I played football.
Amazing. Spencer, can you share with us why you wanted to join Devotio and David Bernard?
Yeah, absolutely. Dave is taking a unique approach to investing. I've always enjoyed helping others. Mentorship has been something I've been very interested in over my years to date. And so Dave really looks to help families grow their wealth generationally, protect against being overly taxed. I'd say that our most unique approach is that we manage on an after-tax basis and really just look for strong opportunities across the country, across asset classes, with a long-term duration, a long-term focus, without having to think about getting in and out of an investment, without having to think about timing. You can really focus in on quality and focus in on finding the right opportunities that match the goals of clients and families as they try to invest and allocate around their lifestyle preferences, their financial goals. And so I find it to be a very open format to help people and also to grow as an investor. And so it's been great the last year that I've been here working with Dave.
And you describe what you do as NetJets for real estate. I've heard you say that. Walk me through that analogy and what does Devotio actually do for a client from first conversation to closing a deal?
Yeah, absolutely. So the unique approach that Devotio takes is we turn the investment process around and we put the client in the driver's seat. And so we ask them what they want from a allocation standpoint to real estate. And then we would set out to invest across a program of diversified assets, both targeting appreciation, income, and other geographic preferences that they might have. I would say that the NetJets for real estate is an ode to the fact that we can work for multiple families in this capacity with tailored and specialized real estate expertise at a fraction of the cost. So rather than having us sitting in your office with a computer screen and a healthcare plan, Devotio is able to work from our own offices and support clients with their real estate goals. And so, as I mentioned, we would look at an overall allocation, and then we would go out and start executing on that plan that we came up with the client. And so we would work through our network of relationships with sponsors, local real estate sharpshooters, and find great opportunities to invest across the asset class. And that might take the form of one deal at first, where we'll present in an investment committee style to the investor after due diligence, and then continue on with the program and allocate additional dollars to fill out their allocation needs.
And so you're working with families that have at least 100 million in investable assets. That's a small, specific universe of people. How do you actually get in a room with them?
Yeah, that's a unique question, and it's a unique position to be in, meeting with these families, as I think there's a common phrase in saying that no family office looks at the same investments, or no family office is the same. They all have different mandates, different goals, different personalities in the room. Some are working with different levels of sophistication and back-end support as it pertains to the investment professionals they're working with. But oftentimes there's a common thread where there's a trusted advisor, there's a state attorney or a tax planner whom looks to connect the dots between their clients' needs. And so oftentimes we'll get referrals from people in Dave's network. He worked for 25, 30 years on Wall Street and knows a lot of people. So that's one way. Another way is we might attend different conferences or family office forums where we'll discuss our business, or we'll just naturally meet people throughout the course of a day and get to know people. And it's definitely, from what I've seen, very relationship heavy. So that's definitely one way that we're able to grow our clientele.
And so David really went from Wall Street, Desert Storm, and then started his own firm from scratch. I mean, most people with his background would just raise a fund and call it a day. Do you know why he didn't?
Yeah, I think Dave is such a high integrity guy that when he started Devotio, he wanted to do something truly different as a leader in the industry. And so Devotio looks to put the client first, work for a family, invest for them, rather than focusing on your own incentives. And as a registered investment advisor, Devotio is able to put the client first and also serve in that investment manager capacity, but with the full integrity and scope of putting the client first, the investor first, something that doesn't usually take place within the industry.
And you deliberately kept Devotio small and selective, and clients have to qualify to work with you and not the other way around. That's a bit counterintuitive for a firm that's building his client base. Where does that conviction come from?
I think clients who are sophisticated enough and sizable enough to understand the inherent benefits that real estate provides make for great clients for us. And so inherently, certain investors or families won't have the setup or the structure or even the desire to invest in direct deals, as that brings on a new set of complications and risks and usually costs. But the way Devotio has set out to approach the business is to lower the cost of direct investment and capture all of the after-tax benefits. And so it takes, as I mentioned, a sizable and sophisticated investor to really utilize and capture those benefits. And so that's why we end up kind of working with a certain grouping of people who have that desire to begin with versus somebody that wants to sit in more passively in a fund.
So it's a business that requires a long courtship, high trust, long sales cycle, clients who tend to stay forever. What does that kind of patience look like in practice day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. It's checking in with clients, seeing how their needs are evolving, whether they have any ongoing liquidity events that we can help with, perhaps a 1031 exchange coming up on an existing property that they want to move on to look at a different site, or they have a need for an upcoming capital gain to look at a qualified opportunity zone. Those are all specialties that we'll take the liberty of helping clients with. I would say we'll also take an opportunity to update them on the state of the market, what we're seeing, how we think that they can rotate potentially out of traditional fixed income or other alternatives into real estate, given the current macro headwinds that the US and the world is facing. We're very bullish on real estate due to its inflationary protection traits. And so we'll commonly send out some updated research materials to clients too on the latest kind of macro metrics. And then we'll also update people with deal flow, which is an interesting piece of the pie here. We have a very select list, as you mentioned, of clients who we go out to, and we'll only go out to them when we have high conviction on an opportunity that we've screened very in depth. And that allows us to stay engaged with a lot of firms as we're bringing high quality, high sourced opportunities out to a select group of people. And so if we have a dialogue ongoing with you and you're a sizable or potential investor then you'll gain access to that deal flow in hopes that we can help you access the asset class and invest in real estate the appropriate way. So Devotio can help facilitate that.
And a lot of your clients are global family offices outside the US investing into American real estate. What is it about US real estate specifically that keeps attracting this kind of capital even now?
One area we've seen some interest is through the EB-5 program for gaining residency in the US through investing in qualified opportunities that generate job growth in either urban or rural centers. And so we have connections with different sponsorship groups that can offer a minimum investment in a development project. Oftentimes it takes the form of mixed use. So perhaps hotel with retail on the ground floor and then condos on the top, but it could really be any type of project. And so we can help offshore investors get citizenship in the US. And beyond that, we'll also look to help them basically remove some of the currency volatility and asset volatility that they may have in their home countries. But beyond currency volatility, there's also a lot of political risk in different regimes where clients sometimes risk their assets being seized by the government. So owning real estate in the US is a great way to have physical property that somebody can't take away from you and diversify away from traditional assets like stocks and bonds.
And Spencer, you compete with firms like Blackstone for the same families. What would you say Devotio offers that they can't?
Sure. One thing I think that Devotio offers is, so when you work with Devotio Capital Management, you have a team that works for you directly. And so you can call this team at any time of day and look to deploy capital into arguably the most tax-resistant, inflation-resistant asset class in the greatest market in the world. We focus solely on the U.S. market. And so, that unique capability to have the one-on-one dialogue with your investment team at such a low cost can't be matched anywhere else. To get into a Blackstone fund, you need to have a sizable amount of capital, and you're likely putting your money in and then getting quarterly updates. With us, we can speak with our clients as frequently as daily or weekly or monthly, depending on the case and where the asset is within its life cycle. But it's truly a unique experience in terms of customer service and the ability to access the team.
And Spencer, what is your big why? Why did you decide on this career?
I think that the mix of solving problems out in the real world and dealing with people, something that's tangible and physical, being able to invest in it and see the prediction, see the due diligence play out in live time through your performance is something that really captivates me and keeps me interested, keeps me excited about the space. I think as coming from a background of being an athlete as well, I like to be measured on wins and losses. And so as an investor, you're definitely being held to that standard as well, producing returns, helping people grow their wealth and support their families.
And what do you think it takes to succeed in this space specifically?
Yeah, I think within the commercial real estate space, there's a plethora of opportunities and there's a lot of noise. I think to be successful, you need to be able to sift through all of that noise, and you needed to be able to underwrite with discipline and find the right opportunities to put your clients, put your own capital. Devotio always invests next to our clients in every deal. And so I think the discipline and underwriting and due diligence is the biggest key to success, as that ultimately is what trickles down to wins and losses and performance.
And what's coming up for Devotio this year and the next 5 years?
Yeah. So today, Devotio is focused on serving our small group of family offices and clients. I think in the future, we will look to expand our team and bring our offering to more family offices and also client-first RIAs across the country and the world. There's a growing concentration of RIAs who are aggregating assets, and a lot of those companies don't have any true in-house real estate expertise. And so one way that we're thinking that the business could grow is through helping those RIAs invest directly in a differentiated fashion, especially as the investment management business becomes more saturated and the larger players continue to aggregate assets. You'll also at the same time see a boiling up of wealth into the higher. I believe that there will be larger income disparities as well. And so you'll have a larger mix of high net worth individuals, right? And so with that comes the responsibility as well to be investing mindfully and with impact. And I think investors will want discretion around where their capital is going. And so Devotio can give their clients just that. You can invest in any geography and any asset class with any impact that you want in the most efficient way possible with the highest level of scrutiny and discipline and underwriting. And so that's a pretty unique way we can interact with clients. And so we'll continue to look to serve clients over the next, half decade, and beyond. And, we're really fortunate to have the foundation we do at this point in time with everything that's going on around the world and how it benefits the asset class, but then also the trends we're seeing across our core investor bases, but then also adjacent managers who will need more support in order to stay differentiated.
And what is the thing that you love the most about this business, Spencer? What is the thing that excites you the most?
Yeah, so I personally love the art of the deal and the negotiation, the finding of the deal, and seeing if you can make it work from a financing standpoint, from having the right investors in place. I love when everything comes together. It's really exciting. It's a bit of an art.
Share a little bit about negotiation. You love negotiation. What do you think are your best tips for someone entering that space and being nervous about negotiating, especially with ultra wealthy families? What would be your piece of wisdom?
Yeah, I'd say two things. Always be prepared and know your subject matter. And then second, never come off as desperate.
How do you do that?
Yeah, so I think one feeds into two. So the more prepared you are, the more kind of confident that you'll be in any situation that you're in. And then in terms of not being desperate, just understanding that there are other opportunities. And if something's not going to work out or something doesn't feel right, or maybe there's a partner in the deal that you don't necessarily trust, or there's a party involved that makes you uncomfortable with the situation at all, or people aren't getting along, just having the ability to walk away is very important.
And when you are hiring new team members, what are the qualities and type of personalities that you're looking for when you know somebody is going to be, this is going to be somebody who's going to be very successful? What do you look at?
One of the top things for me, I'd say maybe there's two or three attributes. I guess starting first with the most obvious is work ethic and hard work. And then secondly, ability to engage with people and be personable, be able to stand on the same ground or stand in the same shoes that your investors are sitting in or are standing in, or the seller or buyer and any of the stakeholders in a transaction, being able to stand on the same ground as your stakeholders. And then also, I would say just being high integrity and being honest about who you are and what you're offering, and also how you're presenting an investment opportunity. So integrity, hard work, and then also, confidence. So those are a few things.
Is there any questions that you wish I had asked you?
Well, let me think. I wish you would have asked what the alternative cost is of working with us versus hiring out your own team, because I'm seeing lots of statistics recently in the news as the family office space has been massively growing. I think it's approaching $1.5 to $2 trillion in assets that family offices manage. family office professionals and their compensation has been a headline. And so, it can often cost millions of dollars to staff an investment team per year. And for some of your smaller single family offices or mid-sized family offices or family offices in general that only want to allocate 10% of their allocation, although family offices on average are allocating 20% to real estate, if you're taking a smaller allocation of 10%, but you're still a sizable family office, 250 million, you want to put 25 million directly into real estate, it doesn't necessarily make sense to have a team that costs $2 or $3 million when you're only investing 25 million in the asset class. So, working with Devotio is a fraction of that, as we offer below market asset management fees on assets that we help investors acquire. And we also invest alongside them and pay the same sets of fees. And we negotiate with our sponsorship groups and our local operators the best waterfall structures that we can if there's any incentive fees layered in, basically protecting our investors from any sort of price gouging, but then also truly producing a differentiated investment strategy and product than they could access through a fund, given the inherent tax advantages that U.S. real estate has.
What is the most common objection that you've heard from clients hesitating between working with you or another option? And how would you answer it?
Sure. I would say the most common objection is oftentimes, so interestingly enough, although we never sell a deal without asking a client first what they're looking for or they're interested in, people always want to see a deal when they're talking to you or as they're getting to know you. And so a lot of clients will say, well, that deal doesn't interest me, or that's not the right deal for me. And so what we would say is spend more time with us, seeing our deal flow, telling us what you're looking for. And so I think, direct investing is a big jump for some groups, especially within the real estate asset class. Some people might own private homes, they might own some land, but ultimately they're usually investing through funds where they trust a manager with a long track record. Spending more time with us, understanding how we're different, and getting to see the opportunities that we present by staying in dialogue with us is a great way to go back to those investors who might say, oh, we're not interested in that deal you might be showing us today based on what they told us they're interested in, but to kind of hang in and see more of the opportunities first.
Absolutely. So Spencer, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on our website, and we're not on Twitter. We're not on Instagram, but I think a lot of our clients use LinkedIn. And then you can also find us at the Dave Pitney Family Office Forum at the end of April in Palm Beach. If any of your listeners will be there, definitely spend some time to look us up or come over and say hello to David and I while we're down there. I'm looking forward to the weather and seeing some family as well over in Naples in the days around the conference.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Spencer, for coming on the show today. It was really a pleasure having you and talking about Devotio.
Thanks so much for having me.
And that wraps up today's episode on Parlez-Vous CEO and our special commercial real estate series. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I can't wait to join you again next week. Thanks for listening to Parlez-Vous CEO today. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps us keep going. And connect with us on Instagram at Parlez-Vous CEO. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I know some days are harder than others. On those tough days, think back to why you started. What you're doing today matters, even when you can't see the results yet. Ideas are great, but it's what you do with them that counts. Find everything we talked about today at parlezvousceo.com. See you next week, and you've got this.